It's Transforce96 here with another Star Wars review. This time we have the Star Wars The Force Awakens from the Elite series, which is a Disney Store exclusive, Captain Phasma. So yeah, so overall let's just go over the package. The Elite series is a Disney Store exclusive, like I said, in about a 7-inch scale that has die-cast figures, which is really unique and interesting. As you can see here, the boxes are quite nice. Plenty of open space on it to clearly see the figure and see the figure from multiple angles. I love the red on these packages. They are very bright, metallic, shiny reds. Really nice. Looks nice. You got a nice Disney Store exclusive little sticker there, as well as a die-cast print on the plastic. And on the back, there's a bio of the Elite series and a bio of Captain Phasma. Very short. Overall, really neat though. So yeah, so let's go over the figure. So this is probably the most sought after of the Elite series from The Force Awakens here. I was very excited to get this character, especially since she is not going to be in Wave 1, but she is in Wave 2 of the Black series. So it was nice to get her, to get a version of her that's around the same size as Black series before the Wave 2 is released. So that was nice as well. Overall, this is a character that I'm really liking so far. I'm very excited to see her in the movie. And I think a lot of people share that same feeling, because the Captain Phasma figures have all been probably the most popular ones in their respective waves. Like the 3.25-inch one, Captain Phasma is sold out just about everywhere. The Black Series one is the Captain Phasma is commanding very high prices on eBay, and then the Elite Series one is also sold out everywhere, and it is the most popular from the Elite Series. So overall, I think Captain Phasma is going to be a very popular character, and I think rightfully so. So yeah, so let's go over the actual figure. So first of all, let's just talk about the die-cast. It's something that's very hard to show just on a video here, the die-cast, obviously. But just take it, take my word on it that this is a very heavy figure. You can really feel the heftiness of the die-cast there. That was the one thing I was worried about before I got these Elite Series figures, as to how much die-cast was actually in them. And luckily so, they are full die-cast. I mean, there's obviously some parts that aren't die-cast. Possibly the head isn't, and then maybe pieces of the joints, maybe the hands, things like that might not be die-cast. Obviously the cape isn't die-cast, so small things like that, but the majority of the figure is solid die-cast, which is wonderful. The legs are definitely die-cast, the chest is, the arms, at least the top part of the arms is die-cast, and you can totally tell just by the weight. So it is great full die-cast. You don't have to worry about buying a die-cast figure that you get it and then just barely any of it's die-cast. This is a solid die-cast figure, and you can definitely feel that it's solid die-cast, which is fantastic. The actual sculpt here is quite nice. Let's go over it. As you can see, I do like the sculpt of the helmet a lot for Captain Phasma. She's got a Stormtrooper-ish designed helmet. It's almost exactly identical, although you have some of these extra lines, as well as the Stormtrooper helmets. They kind of curve in on the sides of the helmet and on the back. However, Captain Phasma's helmet just kind of flares out. The rim doesn't curve in; it flares out, which is really cool. Gives her almost a Darth Vader-ish type of look at the back there, at least with the shape of the helmet, so that is pretty interesting. The cape is quite nice too. It is a very hard plastic. It's not like a rubber that's really pliable. I mean, it's slightly pliable, but not very much whatsoever. I would have preferred cloth, although I like the shape of this. I think that they sculpted the shape really nicely. It is at an angle, of course, and it does hang over one of her shoulders. I think that just looks fantastic and really neat. It's black with some red, some dark red detailing on the side there. And it seems to be a solid black. I don't see any extra shading or anything like that, but they sculpted the lines very nicely in the wrinkles, and it makes it look quite natural, I must say. So overall, quite nice. The body, I'm not quite sure, possibly some of this, if not most of it, is reused from their Elite Series Stormtrooper. I don't actually have that one, so, but it is possible that they did reuse some of it from that figure. Hands and feet are definitely different, I know that. Overall, it does look pretty cool, though. You've got just a nice silver on it, not much highlighting or anything, but the silver is so grand almost, that it really just it makes the figure look quite special. So you really don't need too much shading or anything like that. And Captain Phasma does have some kind of longer feet, it looks like, just not just this figure but just in general. In the movies seem to have that. So overall looking quite nice. Articulation on these Elite Series figures is actually still pretty good. I mean, for diecast figures it's very good. You really don't see many diecast figures with articulation very much at all. Of course, it isn't as good as the Black Series. That's, obviously if the articulation on these Elite Series was better than the Black Series, it would just be 100% just by these guys. But there is still an upside to buy the Black Series as far as their articulation is a little bit superior. Although it's not actually too far ahead of these guys. Their articulation is pretty good. Overall, she has a ball joint, which is quite nice. I mean, it looks up and down. You do get up and down movement, which is pretty good. If the cape wasn't there, it would be able to move slightly more. But the cape doesn't restrict it like a whole ton, and then you do have side to side as well as tilting. So overall, I would have expected a swivel. They did do a ball joint, and that is quite nice. Ball hinge shoulders with a hinge elbow. The only complaint I have mostly with the articulation for the Elite Series is that they just have single hinge elbows. I really would have liked either single hinge elbows with a bicep swivel or a hinge swivel elbow, because you really can't get their arms to turn in, obviously. Like if you have, this is as far like as you can get it to turn in, you've got to raise the arm up. So really would have liked a swivel somewhere here so that figures that have guns can hold the guns with two hands and things like that. Swivel at the wrist, swivel at the waist, which is quite nice. Not a full 360, but it kind of stops like right there. You do have really good motion though. Then you've got ball jointed hips, a little bit hindered just by some of the pouches as well as the armor that goes up quite high. So it is a bit hindered there, but still, you can get enough and you can go out quite far. You've got a hinge at the knee. The hinge actually hinges quite good. I mean, it's not double hinge, but it still moves quite a decent amount. And then a hinge swivel at the ankle. So overall, articulation is really quite good. It's not Black Series, but it's it's a pretty nice standard of articulation, I have to say. You are going to buy this mostly for the diecast, though. That is definitely the selling point of these figures. Her accessory that she comes with aside, if you consider the cape, she also comes with a gun, which is pretty neat. It is a different gun than we see with the average Stormtrooper. It looks more like the guns that the Snowtroopers have, with the stock at the back. Overall, it looks really cool. It's got like a... it's not quite silver, it's kind of a really darker silver, maybe a very light copper type of look, and with black highlights. Overall, looks great. They sculpted it really nicely. It fits in her hand all right. Unfortunately, it's mostly designed for her right hand, and like you can get it there. Her finger doesn't actually go in the trigger hole, but it does kind of line up so that it kind of looks like it is. And then she can hold it pretty decently. It does have the tendency to fall out of her hand if you are posing her with that gun in her hand, though. And like I said, because there is no swivel at the elbow, you can't get her to hold it with two hands, which is a shame. But overall, it looks really cool. You can have it, where she's holding it up or whatnot. And you can do some pretty good poses. It's a wonderfully sculpted gun. It looks pretty good. As far as quality control issues with these, they all seem to have some form of quality control issue. Like on the Fire Trooper, the thighs were a little loose. That's not the case on this one. Captain Phasma does not have those kind of wobbly thighs. Her right elbow seems to be a bit loose on mine. It's just it's not nothing terrible, but it is noticeably loose. Like you can move it quite easily right there. The further up that you go, the tighter it gets, but at the bottom there it is quite loose. So I mean, it's not like it's going to fall out or anything, but it is something that's noticeable. It could just be a problem on mine, but it was worth sharing just in case it is more of a mass problem. And because of her thigh articulation and everything, you can get her hips kind of like this, where she's kind of tilted to one side, which we do see a lot of in the promotional art for Captain Phasma. So you can get her in those type of, stylized stances and not quite so straight up and down completely. So I am quite happy about that. And, it just makes these diecast figures great, having the articulation. Their articulation isn't enough to do anything super dynamic, but it's plenty to get them in really nice stances. And with the diecast figures, that's, basically all I really want, because obviously I can do the dynamic posing with the Black Series. And overall, she stands up fine on her own, but because these diecast figures are so top-heavy, just because there's more... areas up top, with the body, head, arms, and everything like that, as opposed to the, just two legs. They're obviously going to be very top heavy because the body and arms are definitely full die cast. So because of that, you might need to display her on a base. I mean, I feel completely fine with her standing up here, even, you know, hitting the table a bit, not falling whatsoever. So I wouldn't worry about just having her stand there. But if you you know, you want just a little extra support, the base is quite nice. Overall, the actual design of the base is quite plain. Would have liked something nicer, maybe with the chrome, you know, nameplate that says Captain Phasma. She's got one peg there and then one hole on her right foot. So overall, the base is nice and a little unnecessary, but a lot of people seem to be worried that these things are going to fall. So it is nice to just kind of ease the worry of some people. If you're wondering how in scale is this to the Black Series, it's not supposed to be in scale, but if you're wondering if you could substitute this Captain Phasma as opposed to buying the Black Series one, would it be in scale? Overall, it's not quite in scale. Captain Phasma should be taller than the average stormtrooper. The woman who is playing her in the movie is 6'3" in real life, so she's very tall. But this is a little overboard, as you can see. The stormtrooper, you know, looks like a 10-year-old or something standing next to her. So overall, I do think that it's not bad. Like if you really just wanted one Captain Phasma and you wanted the die-cast one, and you have a bunch of Black Series figures, it would work. It's not, you know, nothing terrible, but I don't think that it is in scale. I mean, you know, for some pictures it would look great, you know, especially having the stormtroopers behind her, so it looks like they're further off in the distance as to why they're smaller than her, or so much smaller than her. Overall, though, scale is pretty decent. She is taller than she's very much taller than the Flame Trooper from the Elite Series, and she is taller than Kylo Ren, so not by too much, though. So those are the only other two Elite Series figures that I have. Overall, though, this is a great one. Character-wise, I think that she is going to be really quite awesome in the movie. I cannot wait to see Captain Phasma, and I know that a lot of people are hunting down the Captain Phasma figures from any line from the Star Wars series. So overall, I would highly recommend this one. Really great looking figure. The silver that they use was wonderful, and then of course the novelty of having a completely die-cast yet articulated figure is really quite unique and special. So that is of course another thing that just makes it great. As well as she's only $25. You know, all these Elite Series figures are $25 as opposed to the Black Series, which are $20. And these have less articulation, yet they are slightly bigger, and then they're full die cast. So I would have expected them to be at least $35. So they do seem to be quite underpriced, surprisingly. So definitely a highly recommended figure by me, and just a great Captain Phasma. Can't wait to get the Black Series one. I might do a comparison when I get that one, but we'll see. Overall, this is a great figure, and really love the unique style and diecast that the Elite Series has. So yeah, that's my review of the Star Wars from the Disney Store exclusive Elite Series, Captain Phasma. Thanks so much for watching.